All right, so I'm going to go over a problem that you might be having in your games as you make them. So I made a very simple game in here, and basically what I do is I have my score, and I'm just keeping track of the number of times that my mouse goes inside of the circle. I really want it to only count one time. So I don't know, maybe I'm making like a popping bubbles game, and I really only at one point every time my mouse goes inside that. A lot of different ways I could have this game. Maybe the ball is moving. There's some other fancy things I could add into my game to make it more realistic. But essentially what I want to have is only have the score get counted once. So what I want to do is, as my mouse goes inside here, I want the score to just increase once. You see right now it's spamming away. It's going increasing, increasing, increasing. So what I'm doing in my code is I'm constantly checking to see if the distance from my mouse to the center is less than the radius of the circle. So the problem though that we have is that my number is just spamming away. So let's look at a little bit with my code what's the matter and what I could do to fix it. So this is my code right now. It's pretty straightforward. I have a few variables. We'll get into that variable in just a second. We have some data with my circle. I have data with my score. And then down here, I'm drawing my circle. I have my text keeping track of my score. And then this is just my code to check to see if my cursor is inside of the circle. Checking the distance, using the distance function between the center of the circle, my mouse X, and then seeing if it's half the size, less than half the size of the circle. So this value is just getting me the distance using Pythagoras to distance from center to mouse, and then seeing if that's less than the radius, which is half the total size. But the problem is, like, this is just constantly running, and it's not really smart about knowing when to stop. It's just constantly running up my score. So here's where I'm going to add in a variable. I'm going to make in a variable up here, a Boolean, called scoreable. And scoreable is going to be, to begin with, true. And essentially this is a way of checking to see, can I increase my score? Inside of this loop, we're going to say if this is true, we're going to do one more check in here. We're going to say if scoreable is true. So if we are able to change the score, then we should increase the score. However, what we're also going to do is we're going to say, let me format my document here a little bit, if scoreable is true, increase the score, but also we're going to set scoreable to be equal to false, which is kind of a fun little trick in here. What this is going to do is, like, I think of this as like we're closing the door behind us. So we're checking to see if this variable, we're checking to see first, are we in range to check the distance? Are we inside the circle? And then first we're checking to see if the door is open. If the door is open, we should go through it and kind of increase the score. But we should also shut this door behind us. What this means is the first time we go through this loop while our mouse is inside the circle, the first time we go through it, scoreable is going to be true, so we're going to increase this, but immediately this is going to be false. So the next time we go through it, fine, the distance is still less than, that's fine. But when we get to this check, this is no longer going to be true. And now we're not going to register that second kind of instance when the mouse was inside the circle. If we run this in our code right now, we can see this working. We see score is 1 there. But now, and score is now not spamming away. The problem that I have with this, though, is that, well, I want to have more than one score. I'm going to score 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many to my maximum, and right now I'm not doing it. So what we need to do is reopen the door when we're ready. Reopening the door in this case means that my mouse has left the circle. If my mouse has left the circle, now I'm ready to score again. So what I'm going to do in here in my code is I'm going to say, if this is not true, else, so if I'm no longer inside the circle, we're going to set scoreable to be true. If we run through our code in here, maybe there's ways we can improve that, but essentially what we're going to do is there's score 1, it's not spamming away. I move outside the circle, I go back inside, score 2, score 3, score 4, score 5, score 6, etc. So what's happening here is we're using this Boolean value as a way of kind of like managing when our score is going to get incremented. Not going to get incremented every time, only when this thing is true, and we're kind of controlling when this value is true or not. So immediately, first instance, we're going to immediately set it from true to false, and we can set it back to true later on whenever we want. You could use this in a lot of different games. Students use this typically a lot in Pong or something where the ball is going off the side. We could use a Boolean variable here to keep track of, like, am I able to earn points or not? When should it be set to true? When should it be set to false? Those are some things you have to think about. But any kind of game where we're doing some overlapping or checking, if you see your score spamming up, this might be a good place to check in with your code.